All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Hello and welcome. It is time for what is officially round 7 of the ISRL Division 2 Championship. We are back in Baku because it's time for the redo race here for Division 2. It is time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we are just set up and ready to go here for our short qualifying session. Couple drivers, or I'm seeing one driver hitting the track early. It's one of the Ferraris, either Nole or Krishna hitting the track here. That looks to be Krishna here, leaving the track first to start our short qualifying session and set the benchmark time for the flying lap. Now, of course, those who might remember, last time Division 2 was out here in Baku, things didn't go all that great, and which is why we are back here again. So hopefully the drivers put in the time, put in the effort, put in the practice, so we can get an exciting and more representative race here in Baku for the Division 2 Championship. Now, we've had a couple rounds since then, but we are catching back up here, getting back on track with the schedule, and it's going to be a good one here. Baku always bringing out the best of drivers and the worst of drivers like we saw. We'll see the best here, and of course, some challenging corners in the process, like this castle section that we got a nice view of here. A couple other ones here that are going to be challenging. We'll get to that more in just a few moments here. Once we go through the flying lap set from Krishna, once he does get that lap started, just currently on the flying lap on the medium tires, getting them warmed up here. Now, an interesting call from Krishna starting on the mediums. You can see a couple other drivers looking at that same strategy. Of course, here in Baku, I believe the soft tires really not the best race tire here. I think the medium tires are a little bit more on pace once you are racing. So we'll see how that works out. As Dark is out of this session here in qualifying, looks like had a bit of a moment in the castle section on his outlap. Not ideal for Dark. Gonna be starting in the back of the grid, but here we go, starting a flying lap with Krishna through turn 1. You're gonna notice a bit of a trend here in these first few corners. A couple 90 degrees. Turn 1. Turn 2 hard on the brakes, quickly on the power. Open up that DRS as you're heading down the first long straight here. One of the overtaking opportunities of this circuit. Of course, this one and the very long start-finish straight. But into turn 3 we go, nice and clean. Turn 4 a little bit more the same. So you can see sector 1, just a couple 90-degree corners. Nothing overly difficult. Hard braking, quickly on the power. Into the challenging section of Sector 2 now. This is really going to make or break your lap, and as you can see there, a big moment from Krishna, and that is the end of his qualifying session, losing out on the back end just a little bit too quickly on the power he goes, and that's the end of Krishna's qualifying attempt. Now you can see we're going to pick up with Jordan right where we left off. There is Krishna there. Now heading down the straight. Now this is where the really challenging section of the circuit is. You take that right-handed corner that you can just cut enough here, and then of course the ever so dreaded castle section, destroyer of front wings there, but Jordan making it through that whole section fairly cleanly. A little bit of a tank slapper losing the back end, but quickly on the power, up through the gears on these 3-4 left-hand corners, hard on the braking zone. You want to extend as much as you can, but don't hit that wall. That will be the end of your front wing right then and there. Now another 90-degree corner here. You want to get quickly on the power, set yourself up, because that'll make or break your run, especially through the final chicane. I guess I'll call it left, right, left. Oh, a big moment from Jordan as he loses the back end. The track looking very slippery here in the early stages of qualifying, and that is unfortunate for Jordan, because setting yourself up through that line will really make or break the long straight, as you can see there. But Jordan finishing the lap. A 140.9 is the first lap to beat here, although I'm sure we're going to see a couple more quicker times as the session plays out once everything gets neat and tidy. Nole with a 140.6 for his first lap down on the board, so already 0.3 of a second faster than Jordan. And if I look at let's keep this on. If I look at the detail both on the soft tires, we're going to follow now DeRoy as he's heading down the long back straight to get his first lap time set. It's going to be valid, going to be clean. Let's see what it's going to be time-wise. as he crosses the line and sets a 139.3 on the soft tires, and that is going to be provisional pole position, just taking it away from Knight in the Alpine, who set his time just a couple moments before on the medium tires, a 140.9 or 140.5, excuse me, good enough for P2 here in these early stages of qualifying. Now Nazareth was on a lap, invalidated that lap, extended track limits just a little bit too much, so it's not going to count for him. Sprunky had a bit of a similar fate last lap, but it looks like he's going for another one here, quite possibly. So we'll keep an eye out on that, but might be diving into the pits as well now that I'm thinking about it. We'll see who else is running. So Lucchesi about to finish a lap time here, opening up the that rear wing DRS flap, heading towards the line. What's the time going to be for Lucchesi? He goes second fastest on the medium tires. It's a 139.4 for the Aston Martin driver, as he takes P2 and bumps Knight down to P3. So Fiance, that's a purple Sector 2 here, and we'll see if he can keep that up in Sector 3, the final sector, and see if he can maybe leapfrog a little bit. Sprunky did cross the line. He set that lap time, and it's a 139.359, so just by a couple hundredths of a second slower than the time set by DeRoy. There goes Sophion, and only fourth fastest. It's a 139.5 for the McLaren driver on that first lap time on the board for him. Now VR 46 Yarno unfortunately had an invalidation very early on here, so that's going to be an abandoned lap. We'll see if he's going to go for another one here. And driver formerly known as Cohen, changing his name to KN19-12, so I think I might just call him Cohen here for the time being until I get a new pronunciation if needed. But in the Red Bull car, coming through the castle section as he's running a lap on the soft tires here, and we'll see what he can do. Maybe he can leapfrog himself up into the top 3, into the top 5. 11 minutes to go in this qualifying session, so still a decent amount of time left to for drivers to improve, to just get some quicker lap times in. So we'll quickly jump on board here and watch Cohen as he takes that the final bends here. Set yourself up for the long DRS straight. Fairly nicely there from the Red Bull driver, and now it's just you gotta hold the power, open up DRS as quick as possible, and take the optimal line to the line here. And as he's gonna cross the line, it's gonna be fifth fastest, so 139.6 for Cohen on those soft tires. Now, let's see, a couple VR crossing the line here. He's going to set that lap time, but it's not going to count. It was only a 42.8 for VR, but in that Williams car, I think he's going to go for it again here and see if he can put something on the board. Couple drivers, Nazareth, Zuil, Demorts, they don't have a time set yet, but still 10 minutes to go in the session, and running their outlaps now, so they're going to go try again on a fresh set of tires to see what they can do. Nole as well through Sector 1 doing a little bit more of the same, but we'll stick with the Williams of VR as he's taken us through a lap here in Baku, and we'll see what the time is going to be. 34.5 I believe it was in Sector 1, so not a bad time. Purple in the first sector actually, so feeling comfortable on those soft tires is the Williams driver of VR, and we'll see if he can keep it up through the challenging Sector 2, and of course the top speed requiring Sector 3 here of the track. So coming through, we'll jump on board as he's heading towards the ever so dangerous, I believe it's turn 13. You want to hit the brakes early there, or else you might end up hitting that wall, broken front wing. You don't want that to happen at all. But looks like VR handling it well. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Looks to be in the castle section or right around just before. I believe that's just drivers getting positioning sorted out, as we're seeing a couple more here. Oh my goodness, yellow flags in every sector, but very quickly getting sorted out. VR opens up DRS, heading towards the line now. Show me the time. It's fastest. Provisional pole for VR, it's a 138.5, so he puts the lap together on the 2-lap-old soft tires, and with 8.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session, VR 46 Yarno takes provisional pole, and we'll see if anybody can challenge. I'm looking at Zuil, I'm looking at Nazareth, the two favorites, the two protagonists here in the Division 2 championship. I should say. So we'll see what they can do. They don't have a lap time yet, but Nazareth heading down the long start-finish straight. So as he's going to head towards the line, we'll see what Nazareth's first time is going to be on the soft tires. Crosses the line, only second fastest. It's a 38.6 for Nazareth here. And as we switch over very quickly, Demort's on the mediums, a 140.3, so a little off the pace from Demort's here on that first lap. Although he is on the medium tires, only good enough for ninth fastest here in this session. And for Demort's, we're used to seeing a little bit more pace from the Red Bull drivers, so we'll see if he can find it between now and the end of this session, and maybe by the time for race starts. But here comes Zuil on the soft tires as he opens up that DRS flap. Where is that going to end up here? He only goes 6th fastest. It's a 139.4, so a little bit off the pace for Zuil on that first lap. Possibly a mistake somewhere along the way, but between the battle of himself and Nazareth here for the championship in this stage, looks like Nazareth's got a little bit more pace, but of course qualifying is just half the battle. You gotta get that good finish here in the race, and that's a completely different story, and that's where we tend to see Duwil shine here is his race pace compared to Nazareth, where Nazareth has a lot of one-lap pace, but seems to be a little bit more inconsistent once we do get into the race, and that's something you cannot afford, especially here in Baku of all the tracks with the walls so close together. Not for Nazareth and not for any of the other drivers. Now, DeRoy currently in third. I thought he was going to go for a lap time here, but nope, dives into the pits. Did not like that attempt, so he's going to get the tires switched and go again. Sprunky on another lap as he's heading through the castle section now. We don't know where he was in Sector 1, but we'll keep an eye on it here as he's heading down towards the end of Sector 2 into that oh-so-difficult Turn 13, I believe it is, and I'll just call it Turn 13 for now, just to make my life a little bit easier. Handles that pretty well, and now he's only got the end of the track. A little bit of a long straight, 7/10 faster, so I think Sprunky is going to be improving. He's looking to be on pace to end up in the 138s, maybe put himself up to around P3. Zuil setting a second lap time, a little bit better this time. It's a 39.2, but that's on soft tires. They've run an extra lap, so I think if Zuil has enough time, he can get around, maybe put one more lap time on the board on a fresh set. But Sprunky, though, with 38.6 as he goes up to second here in qualifying. So VR still hanging on to that provisional pole as he's on track now, maybe looking to improve on that pole-setting lap. Sprunky, though, came close up to second fastest here with that 38.6. And of course, just inching out the time set by Nazareth. It's another 38.6, but 6.03 for Sprunky, 6.67 for Nazareth is the time difference between the two of them. Now, Sophion on a lap, Cohen on a lap as well. Knight also running a lap time here, just starting his flying lap, the second one here around Baku. So we'll see if these drivers can improve. We'll stick with Sophion for the moment. We've got a little bit of yellow flags here. As, that's Lucchesi. Lucchesi leaving the session, I believe. Hopefully that's just connection issues from the Aston Martin drivers' end. Hopefully that can get resolved before the end of qualifying, so we can get him in here properly in the lobby for the start of the race. But 4 minutes and 15 seconds and counting to go in this short qualifying session. Here comes Sophion charging towards the line, looking to improve on the 39.5 he had on the board. Not going to be the case as he dives into the pit lane, abandons that lap, and he's going to go possibly try for another one here once the track is just that much more rubbered in. KN next across the line as he's heading down the straight. He's going to finish his lap. We'll see if it's going to be any quicker, and he is quicker. It's 2.5 tenths faster, but that's good enough to leapfrog him up to P5 just ahead of DeRoy. So the Red Bull up into P5 with a 39.2 on that lap. We'll head back over to the Alpine of Knight coming through Sector 3. Just missed the Sector 2 time, so not too sure where the pace is. But we'll see as he takes a good line through the final section of Sector 3. heading towards the line here, down that long start-finish straight, opens up DRS, and we'll see what it's going to be here. It's looking to be a little bit faster here, definitely much faster, a full second faster than his previous lap time, at 38.9, and that brings Knight up to P4 here in qualifying with 3 minutes to go. We'll see if that holds here, as a lot of drivers in the pits, but I think some just waiting for that right time to head out, start their out lap. But we have DeRoy on his flying lap right now. He got knocked down to 7th place here. So we'll see if he can find a little bit more pace. And through Sector 1, he's a little bit slower than what his best time was. We'll see if he can maybe find a little bit more in Sector 2. Ooh, that tank slapper is definitely not going to help his case. That might be the end of the attempt from DeRoy just before the castle section, as he might just choose to conserve the tires, conserve the ERS, and go for one more. And it looks like that is the case, as he's letting one of the, that looks to be Nazareth, who's running a flying lap, it seems. So we'll move over to Nazareth, down to P3. We'll see if he can improve. What's the Sector 2 time looking here? As he just heads down, and I've just missed it. It looks to be about half a second faster for Nazareth through Sector 2, so we'll see if he can keep that up on the final sector. The long straight requires a lot of top speed. We'll see if Nazareth has it here. The line looking to be pretty good here as he's heading down towards the start-finish straight. We'll see what the time is. Can he improve? Can he leapfrog as he crosses the line? Yes, he does. Smashes the time set from VR. It's a 38.1. Nazareth on provisional pole here with 1.5 minutes in this qualifying session. So he snags that provisional pole. He puts himself in a great spot here late in qualifying. Now the question is, how is everybody else going to react? VR, he's got a 38.5 to his name. Doesn't have much ERS in the tank, so I think that was the end of his attempt. Sprunky's in the pits and just diving into the pits, so that's going to be the end of Sprunky's qualifying. I think VR might just go for one more lap, but he's going to have to preserve a lot more battery than what he has here, so we'll keep an eye out on that. I think Will might be the only driver here with 50 seconds to go in qualifying that can truly challenge, unless DeRoy is going to be going for it as well, which could be a possibility. He's on the softs, looks to be using some battery here through Sector 1, so we'll stick with DeRoy for the moment. And it looks like he's got, nope, I think that's just Nazareth doing his in-lap a little bit ahead. Also a Ferrari of Nolay, who's currently down in 12th. A little bit of a tank slapper on the exit of that corner for the Ferrari driver. And that might affect the lap time just a little bit here. And with yellow flags in the sectors, drivers letting others through, not looking to affect the flying laps here. But Nolay going to be next across the line. Afterwards, it's going to be DeRoy. There goes Sophion just starting his flying lap here, the final one of the session. We'll see if he can maybe challenge Jordan coming through the castle section now. But we'll stick with Nolay for the time being, heading towards the start-finish straight, heading towards the line. Where's the Ferrari driver going to put himself here as qualifying has come down to a close, crosses the line up to 6th fastest for Nolay, so a good lap time here. Next up is going to be DeRoy as he's charging towards the line, could possibly challenge for pole as he crosses the line. Only 4th fastest for DeRoy. It's a 38.7. Puts that car into a great spot here, but not quick enough to crack the top 3 and take that pole away from Nazareth. Let's see what Will can do, as he might be next across the line, as Jordan has an invalidated lap time. So we'll stick with Will as he's heading through Sector 3. We'll ride on board with the Haas driver as he's taking that the final corner here. Doesn't look like much, but can be very challenging if you're not careful, as we've seen in the past. Heading towards the line now, and this is going to possibly be the battle for pole. Crosses the line, and it's only 6th fastest for Will. It's a 39 flat, just about. So Nazareth looking to be safe unless Sophion can do anything to say anything about it. 7/10 faster, but he might need a little bit more than that if he wants to challenge for pole. I don't think it's going to be enough unless he finds much more speed down Sector 3 as he's heading towards the line. He's going to improve. It's just a matter of where he ends up. Quickest line to the line, and that looked to be a top 5 for Sophion, right next to his teammate of DeRoy, I believe. So the McLaren's got a good qualifying spot here. But there you have it. That is the end of this qualifying session. Nazareth, as he's chasing down Duwil in the battle for the championship, does a great first step here as he snags pole position with a very fast 138.1 here, nearly half a second faster than VR, who's in P2 on the front row of the grid right alongside him. Then you've got Sprunky reserving here in Division 2, definitely showing he's got some pace, qualifies in P3. Then the two McLarens of Deroy and Sophion, Deroy and Sophion rounding out the top 5. Now, of course, looking at the other end, Dark and Krishna really did not have a good qualifying time. We saw Dark, I think, had a moment on the outlap. Krishna was on a flying lap, but they've been sitting around for a little bit of time here, not getting those extra qualifying reps as they retired, or they crashed out very early, and I think they're going to have possibly a little bit of a bit more of a challenge here for the start of the race. Not being as warmed up as some of the other drivers in the race lobby, but also having to start from the back of the field in a track like Baku, where really you don't have many overtaking opportunities down towards turn 2. From turn 2 down to turn 3, one of the overtaken opportunities, and of course that long start-finish straight. But other than that, you're stuck following behind the driver that's ahead of you, unless they do make a mistake. But as qualifying came down to a close, we're jumping in to the race lobby, looking to be a little bit of cloudy skies here. So the track might not be as warm as it was in qualifying, so it might take a little bit longer for drivers to get that optimal heat in their tires. Something we're just going to have to keep an eye out on. But drivers getting that last little bit of strategy set up, figuring out the tires, figuring out the fuel, determining what they want to do here. And now we've got the cue. We're going to be kicking things off in about 25 seconds for the formation lap and, of course, the 5 red lights for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here for the Division 2 Championship. Alright, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The 1 light is off. We are kicking things off here for the formation lap, followed by the 5 red lights, of course, and 26 laps here around Baku City Circuit for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifying is over and done with. We've got the grid set. Now it's time for what the moment we've all been waiting for is the race here in Baku. I'm excited to kick things off. I do very much so. It hopes that it goes better than the previous attempt here in Baku. I'm sure it will, though. But as we head through the grid one more time, it was Nazareth with the stellar laps starting on pole, starting in P1. He's on the soft tires with the VR46 Yarno in second, and Sprunky rounding out the top 3 on that second row with Deroy. Sophion rounding out the top 5 on row 3 with Knight starting alongside of him. Sophion and Knight next to each other. We've seen that many times before. Lots of respect between the two drivers here. We'll see how all that plays out going into turn 1 and the first few laps here. Zuwil right behind in 7th. A 4th row start for Duwil. He's going to have his work cut out for him here with his main championship rival in Nazareth starting all the way up in P1. No lay down in 8th as he put that lap time, jumping him up a few positions with KN19 in 9th, and Lucchesi rounding out the top 10. But Lucchesi, the only driver in the top 10 to be able to start on the medium tires, so he got that lap to work. We'll see if he can make the strategy work here, going a little bit longer on that race tire. Jordan in 11th, best of the rest. He gets the medium tires, with Demorts also opting to start on the mediums. Dark and Krishna, they're starting from P13, P14, the back of the field here. But they're going for a little bit of an alternate strategy. Are these two drivers? They're looking to start on the hard tires, those white wall hard tires, which will take a little bit longer to heat up. They're going to be running in their optimal performance range a little bit much longer than the mediums, and definitely much longer than the softs. But that grip, that pure pace, will not be there as much. So maybe expect them to fall down in pace just in these early stages, but they should be able to catch up in that midway point once we start seeing the soft tires fall, and we transition into a point where those hard tires are going to be running a little bit better. We'll see how that plays out for them here, as they're going to attempt to go much longer than the rest of the field. But as we're getting the grid lined up, you can see Nazareth taking his spot on the grid. The rest of the field is following suit. We are just about ready and set for the 5 red lights for 26 laps here around Baku City Circuit. It is time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go in just a few moments. So let's do it. Up to 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And the lights are off, and we are racing here in Baku as the drivers head down towards turn 1. You can see that looked to be a Haas battling for position, trying to go down the inside of the 2 McLarens side by side into turn 1. Looks to be very clean through turn 1 here this time around. And as they head down towards turn 2, you can see Jordan and Nole having a little bit of a battle side by side. It looks like that's Demort's getting involved. Krishna losing out on a couple positions down to 12th place. Now Duwil already gaining 1, getting ahead of Knight up to P6, but I challenge back in 7th, but looks like for the first few corners, drivers making it through pretty cleanly here. Not much battling in these opening laps. Maybe a little bit more caution from the drivers compared to previous, but Krishna and Jordan, they're having a little bit of a battle, but Jordan having a bit of a moment here, and it looks to be, we've got a yellow flag. Not too sure what that was for. Maybe a little bit of a tank slapper from some of the field, one of those drivers there, bringing that out temporarily, but very quickly gets itself sorted. But you can see right now Knight really charging down Zuwil as they went through that castle section. A yellow flag in Sector 2, and that's Nole. Oh no, Nole breaking a front wing. That is not going to work out too well. And Lucchesi having to slow down, but it looks like Lucchesi might have a little bit more connection issues with us, as that car is a bit of a ghost. But Nole going to have a long ways to go into the pit lane. Did not get the start of the race he was hoping for here with that broken wing on lap 1, and more of a yellow flag. That looks to be Nole once again trying to get that car around the corner, but with no wing, not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Now I'm looking here at the hard tire runners. Krishna and Dark, they're starting to make a little bit of progress. Krishna chasing down Demorts. He's gonna go for a move down the inside here as they cross the line. They're side by side, but the Ferrari gets the inside line as they head on the exit. It's still close. They're still battling along, but Demorts just finding enough traction, and that's what I was talking about in the formation lap. You can see the pace with those medium tires compared to the hards. Now Lucchesi, that's it for his race. I think the connection is just a little bit too bad for him, so choosing to get that car off the track, and that's going to be the end of his race. Jordan and Nole taking a pit stop very early on, as they're going to be putting on a brand new front wing, and they might want to hope for a little bit of help here, maybe in the form of a safety car, maybe in a virtual safety car, or possibly just in pure pace that comes out of nowhere. But we'll keep an eye out on that. Meanwhile, a little bit further ahead, you can see Knight still as close as ever to Duwil, but here in these early few stages, you're relying on pure pace and your battery management alone. You don't quite have DRS just yet, but that will activate at the end of this lap, heading towards the starting lap on lap 3. You can see Knight is ready to pounce on Duwil, as for the most part the positions have remained unchanged. If I pull up the position changes here, already Krishna, he's the biggest mover, as he's up 5 positions up to P9 after starting down in P13 or P14. I believe he was last on the grid, so Krishna really moving. but he's got a 3-second gap that he's going to have to close. Now you can see there, as we wrote on board, there went DeRoy into the pit lane, so that's a McLaren taking a very early stop here. He might have had a little bit of damage, maybe clipping a wall very quickly, as he might need to get that fixed, as that's a very long time in the pit lane for DeRoy. A little unfortunate for the McLaren driver, but he's going to be back on track. He's got a set of medium tires, can go a little bit longer, and that's Jordan out of this Grand Prix. It looks like through that little S section, that final chicane of a corner. I had mentioned it doesn't quite look like much, but it's a lot more challenging than you might initially think. And if we write on board, there is that car from Jordan just temporarily before they get that sorted. Brings out a virtual safety car, so not ideally what Nole was hoping for. Maybe he was hoping for the real thing so he could catch up and get back into this race, but it does essentially neutralize the race for a moment here on lap 3, and we're just got to wait for the cue to head back to green flag racing. Good news is DRS, I'm sure, will be activated immediately once we go back to green flag racing, so as long as we get things going quick enough, we should be alright. But it looks like there's a little bit of a separation here, and that is that gap that Krishna with the hard tires, he's leading that second group of cars here from Demorns down, but already you can see a little bit of a gap forming from the top 7 on the soft tires and Krishna on the hard tires, but that's just the different strategies playing out here. But we'll see how this plays out between now and the end of the race, especially in a couple laps time once the soft tires start to fall off pace a little bit more and we start seeing the need for pit stops. But here we go, back to green flag racing as the leaders are just crossing the line to start lap 4. So not much of an overtaking opportunity, but you can see that was VR. He came close. He thought about it. Meanwhile, Duwill and Knight have a little bit more time as they're going side by side into turn 1. They're still alongside of one another here. It's going to be who can outbrake who, and you can see lots of room left there, but Duwill on the outside line trusting the pace of the car, trusting the grip, and he gets ahead. But Knight now once again going for the overtake. You can see Sprunky and VR having a moment. What did happen to VR actually is he fell down 2 positions, so Fion getting ahead as well through that case. But I was looking here with the battle, Duwill and Knight and even K19 getting involved with this as well, and they're losing pace from this top 3. But there you have it, Sprunky in second, so Fion in third now as VR46 Jarno loses out. He was in second, but now finding himself down in P4. But that saves it for this round. We'll check back in just a little bit here for more battling between the two of them. Let's see if maybe Sophion, if he can catch Sprunky napping going into this corner, as they've essentially left VR in the dust. I think VR might have had a bit of a moment, maybe outbraking himself a little bit, which could have caused the extra position loss, as now VR just a little bit more off the pace. Oh, he's got some end plate damage there, as there goes Duwill ahead of him. I think Knight is going to follow suit, but he's going to have to wait for this moment here, as there's a little bit of contact between the two drivers, as VR that end plate is really affecting him. I think he's definitely going to have to take a pit stop. Cohen going to try to slip between the two of them here. It's going to be close, and there you go, 3 turning into 2. It's a bit of a drag race, but the Alpine trying to use Duwill for a little bit of help, but it was just enough to keep that position, keep into P5, and to keep KN19 behind. But that was a good battle between them. VR getting involved just a little bit there, but they're not just going to give these positions away in any way, shape, or form here. It is still racing after all. But looking back at the leaders here, still early stages. Sophion up into P2, Sprunky down in third, so they were able to exchange positions, possibly down the start-finish straight. So we'll keep an eye out on these two battles, and you can see Demore still chasing down Krishna, but crucially with the battling going on ahead, Krishna is able to close that gap. It was at 4 seconds, but now down to about 1.5 to 2 seconds, as you can see. But we've got a big yellow flag. It looks to be a big moment here, and there's Sprunky with a broken front wing. He must have lost the back end through the castle section. A little unfortunate for him as he was running very well up in second, but he falls down into ninth, and I think he's going to lose a little bit more with that pit stop. So Theon, meanwhile, the main battler there with Sprunky, he can breathe a little bit easier as he's got a nice little 2-second gap to between himself and Duwill, and that's the end of Sprunky's race as he retires out of this race. That's a DNF there. If I take a quick look, oh my goodness, Sprunky tried to make the corner, but with no front wing, that car is definitely not going to turn, and that's the end of Sprunky's Grand Prix. But here comes Knight going down the inside of Duwill into turn 1. They're continuing this battle once again, and there is Cohen right behind the two of them trying to get involved. Knight and Duwill still side by side as they head through turn 2, but once again Duwill on the outside line finding a bit more traction. There's Cohen on the inside of the two. Knight getting ahead of Duwill. Now Cohen and Duwill having to go alongside. Knight gets ahead. There's a little bit of contact, it looks like, but not too sure how much of that was contact and how much of that was just a little bit of a tank slapper coming through the corner. But KN losing out the most there as he's still in 5th. Meanwhile, Knight got ahead of Duwill, so he finds himself in a podium position with Duwill in 4th, losing out on 1. But I believe this battle is really just beginning here, as I think we're going to see this going for quite a little bit more time. And once again, Krishna is starting to close up here with this battle between these drivers. Gap down to a second now, so just outside of DRS range is Krishna in the Ferrari. We'll see if he can just catch it up, and I do think some of it might also be just these soft tires starting to lose pace ever so slightly here around Baku. It is a track that is a little bit more known for tire wear, for affecting the tires a little bit more, putting a bit more load on them. And we'll have to see how the drivers handle them there as they're all heading down the long straight. But also you can see Nazareth has essentially remained untouched. There was Duwill maybe faking a pit stop, but not going to happen. Cohen, although, he's going to take a pit stop. So Theon as well is going. Meanwhile, Duwill and Knight, they're going to be going for it here. This time it's Duwill on the inside line, Knight defending on the outside. But just not enough room to get the overtake done. But Duwill gets second crack at the DRS cherry as he's now going to go for it. And with the DRS, it looks like he can get well ahead, well before the corner. And that's Duwill back in second, Knight down in third. But with the way this is going, at the rate this is going, it looks like they might exchange positions essentially lap after lap. Meanwhile, though, Demorts got ahead of. Demorts is ahead of Dark as he's right on the back of Krishna. But you can see the dirty air. Krishna, oh, a big moment, makes a little bit of contact with Demorts, but we'll have to see, did that give the Red Bull any damage? No, it did not. Dark is clean, so it looks like it really just affected Krishna, and very crucially, that's at the exact same spot where we saw Krishna have a moment in qualifying. So as you can see, and as it might be able, oh my goodness, it's difficult here to speak, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that. But what I'm trying to say is that it's an area of the track that Krishna definitely needs to iron out a little bit more here, or might risk making a little bit more mistakes. You can see a little bit more compounding there as that damaged end plate makes him clip the wall a little bit. Does not quite have as much downforce as he's used to on that car, and we might see a pit stop here from the Ferrari driver. Not ideal for him as he was running so well running those hard tires. Meanwhile, you can see KN as being chased down by DeRoy, the McLaren driver, as he's on 3-lap old mediums. Duwill takes the lead of this race as Knight pits, Nazareth pits from the lead. Demorts and Krishna pitting as well, but Dark staying out. He's running that hard tire strategy. It's working out for him now as he's in a nice little gap in P2. And Duwill trying to go a little bit longer on those soft tires, but you know he's going to have to take a pit stop in the next few laps, or else he might really risk falling off the pace. But for now, Duwill leading the race, a 5-second gap to Dark. And the former race leader of Nazareth is running in third position, although he is on a fresh set of tires, so he's in a great position to try to charge up the field. and catch up to the other two drivers here, running in first and second. Given it is only a 5-second gap, and very crucially, he's got a nice little cushion with KN running in fourth, and right behind KN, this is where the gang is here. You can see DeRoy, Sophion, VR46 Yarno, Knight, they're all one behind another. This is where the battle is gonna happen. So maybe DeWill trying to overcut, so that he can maybe use the clean air to his advantage, try to build enough of a gap to completely avoid this gap and try to get ahead of KN. But we'll have to see how it's going to play out here as the fresher tires can prove to have a little bit more pace. But we'll see. There goes DeWill down the start-finish straight. Is he going to take his pit stop here? It looks like he is. So we'll have to see where he's going to come out. Is he going to end up ahead or behind of this group of cars as they're heading down the start-finish straight? I think DeRoy is going to be relatively untouched, but VR chasing down. But they're kind of stuck in this DRS train, so not much overtaking is going to be able to happen. But crucially, here is going to be close. And DeWill coming out of the pit lane, and he's behind this whole group of cars. So DeWill losing out a little bit here, as now Knight and VR are ahead, and so is KN for that matter, as he's ahead of all of them, running in third, trying to keep the two. Oh my goodness, he was trying to keep the two McLarens, but it looks like the two McLarens are fighting amongst themselves, and DeRoy having to go very deep there as he completely misses the corner. And he ends up losing all of those positions down into 8th there, as he's going to have to charge back. So a costly mistake from DeRoy, as looks like he was trying to battle with his teammate, just didn't quite have anywhere to go, and essentially had to overshoot the corner. Since got that sorted out, but that's a lot of positions lost for the McLaren team. That was running in 4th and 5th respectively, and looking to be in a great spot here. Meanwhile, you can see Knight chasing down VR much closer this time around, and he's got a little bit of a cushion with DeWill 1.8 seconds behind, but DeWill on slightly fresher tires, and I mean slightly, by about a lap. So we're just going to have to see if DeWill has enough pace on those mediums. But as they're all heading down the start-finish straight, it's Dark who's leading this race, as he's going to go much longer on the hard tires. Nazareth in second, but he's showing a lot of pace here on those fresh medium tires as he's chasing, closing that gap to Dark in the lead. Then behind them, it's you've got Cohen, but with Sophion, he thought about going for a move, but just did not have enough room. Crazy to say here in Baku, but it is the case, just not enough room to get the overtake done. But as they head through into on the exit of turn 2, you gotta nail your exit here. Open up DRS. It's gonna be close. Going towards the inside is Sophion. Does he get the move done before the corner? Yes, he does. Cohen trying a switchback, but it's gonna turn into an outside line here. It's close, but I think Sophion got the move done as he gets up into P3, although Cohen's still showing like he wants to go for it, but I think he's gonna have to cut his losses for the time being, stick in 4th, so he doesn't force himself into possibly another mistake with these other two drivers behind them. But he wants to go for it very quickly, trying for a move, did not quite work out for him. Definitely not going to go for it here in the castle section, as you can see single file through there. But now this is closing this group up with the likes of VR and Knight, who are kind of having a little bit of a battle of their own here right behind them. But here we go, back to KN. Is he going to try once again? No, definitely does not go for it there. I think he's going to save it for DRS for that start-finish straight. Try to focus on the exit here, get the run, and go for the overtake. He's got VR and Knight very close behind him, making it through the S's. They all do, as these group of 4 or 5 cars all chasing down, as DeWill has been able to close up down to under a second now. There goes Nazareth getting ahead of Dark as they're going side by side into turn 1. So Nazareth takes the lead of the Grand Prix back on those medium tires. Meanwhile, KN and Sophion having a battle. There's VR46 Yarno right behind them as well. Knight getting involved as it's all happening here on lap 11. They're charging towards turn 3. Are we going to see a couple moves here between these cars? It's close, but no, not close enough. Not able to close up enough of a gap here. So they're going to remain single file, but this group of 4 or 5 cars, they're all one behind another. They're all going to be stuck in each other's dirty air. Sophion kind of in the best spot here, but of course he's not making much progress for the group at the front. He's just keeping everybody behind him, but the question is, for how long can Sophion keep everyone behind him, as he's going to be the possibly one of the only ones with no DRS. But oh no, a big moment, and that looked to be Zuil that brought out a yellow flag, as he's now 5 seconds behind. I'm going to try to keep an eye out on that car. Does he have any damage? But hang on a minute, there goes VR going for a move down the inside of KN19, and it looks like he's just going to get ahead. Can he outbrake going into this move? Contact with the wall from the Red Bull driver of KN, as Knight gets essentially a free position with that contact. So for the Red Bull driver, that's very unfortunate. He's going to have to take a pit stop. He's going to have to get that wing changed. You cannot maneuver this circuit when you've got wing damage like that on that car. So very unfortunate, as KN was really stuck in the battle, but just did not have anywhere to go on the outside line, and had to make contact with the wall. But thankfully that did not completely end his race. It's just a bit of a time loss with the pit stop. But Zuil, he's going to continue onward, so I think Zuil just had a bit of a moment. I think he maybe just lost the back end on the exit and had to essentially slam on the brakes, keep the car under control, and just take the time loss. Well, let's see. Knight chasing down VR. Is he going to go for the move? He came close, but just not enough to get the overtake done here on lap 12. Into turn 3 with DRS, so he's gonna have to stick behind the Williams for another half lap or so. But you can see Nazareth is leading the way. Dark is still keeping up, but that gap is starting to grow up to nearly 3 seconds, as Nazareth is really starting to run away with this here on those fresh tires. And to be fair to Nazareth, he's been on point for this entire race. I really haven't seen a mistake from him just yet, and he's looking to be in a great spot so far to be in control of this race. And essentially it's his to lose at this point. So we'll see how he can handle that here. Dark, meanwhile, making that longer strategy work to perfection. 11 lap old hard tires, as he's going to go much longer and possibly try a one-stop pit for a set of softs, and be on that quicker tire to go to the end of the Grand Prix once that gap has been formed. Meanwhile, Sophion in 3rd, Knight in 4th. They're continuing their battle, although the gap now has started to form between these drivers, as they're all switching over to a bit more tire management. VR, meanwhile, after only 6 laps, pitting to get off of these medium tires. So I wonder what he's going to be doing here. Is he going to be taking a wing change here? Let's take a quick peek. It's a long pit lane there, having to go to the end, and it looks like that is going to be a wing change for VR. A little unfortunate, as you may have taken a little bit of damage there, and that's a lot of time lost. But it's the struggle and it's the challenge of this circuit here in Baku. You got to keep your nose clean, literally and figuratively, or else you're gonna have a bad time, and that's exactly what we're seeing for a couple drivers here. So we'll see what we'll see with still half the race to go. We'll have to see how they can essentially use their pace to close back up these gaps and charge back up. A little bit of clean air is definitely going to help as well, compared to when you're stuck behind a driver. You've got a lot of their dirty air, the likes of which Demort possibly has with Doroya, but it looks like nothing with there. But as you can see, the gaps are starting to form. The drivers converting to a little bit more strategy management. Like I mentioned, Nazareth leading the race here. Dark in 2nd. Sophion rounding out the top 3. A little bit of gap between the top 3. But Knight chasing down. He wants that podium here in Baku. And he's been driving pretty well here so far this afternoon. So we'll see if he can keep this up, as he is starting to close that gap. It's just under 2 seconds here between these two drivers. This is possibly the closest gap on the field here. Now Deroy taking a pit stop. I think he might have had a little bit of damaged wing Demorts as well, interestingly enough. So two drivers diving into the pit lane. Demorts maybe taking a second scheduled pit stop, going soft mediums. DeRoy putting on another set of mediums here. And I do believe, I'm not too sure if there's any wing change between the two of them. They look to be relatively quick pit stops for both drivers, so I think it was just a scheduled pit stop for the two of them. But meanwhile, they end up essentially right involved with Nole. So let's keep an eye out on this. Nole with 11 lap-old mediums. He sees DeRoy in front of him. He's got some DRS. Let's see if he's going to go for the overtake. He's going to try it maybe to send it down the inside, but no. Just unable to close up enough was Nole there to get a move done on DeRoy. Now we'll see if DeRoy can get the heat in those tires and possibly try to build a gap here in this in sector 2 where you're not really going to see too much overtake. Nole, meanwhile, he's going to just try to stick behind, stay within that DRS zone, stay within that DRS range, so he can maybe try once again to go for a move down the long start-finish straight. That seems to be the primary spot, the primary opportunity for overtaking. But it looks like for now, DeRoy is sticking to the strategy a little bit more, or sticking to that a little bit better. But Nole, meanwhile, he's out of this race, and there is that car from Nole right as we switched over to him. That essentially brought out a safety car, and I think Nole maybe just lost it ever so slightly going through that section of the track. It's high speed. It doesn't look all that threatening, but of course, one wrong step, and essentially that's exactly what can happen, and you become a passenger. Very unfortunate for Nole, as he is now out of this race. Brings our total remaining drivers down to 10, but more importantly, that brings out a safety car. So if you're the likes of Nazareth, that was the last thing you wanted, is that's going to close up the field entirely. Meanwhile, if you're running a little bit further behind, the likes of Demorts, let's say DeRoy, who just took a pit stop here, Krishna as well, you're essentially getting a second chance at life, as the grid is going to be bunched up once again, and you can essentially you're right back in this race. You're not racing gaps anymore. You're gonna get to race other drivers. So we'll see how this is gonna play out, and with 10 to 11 laps to go, I think we might just have a possibility of seeing Dark take a pit stop here to get off of those hard tires. But at this point, he might just want to he will pit for a set of mediums, I would think, so he can comfortably go to the end. I don't think it's time just yet for a set of softs, although if he is willing to try to conserve those softs a little bit more, he might be able to make them work. We saw the likes of Zuwil go around 9 laps on the softs, but I do think that is the extent of how much you can push them before they really start to fall off pace. But we'll have to see what Dark's going to do, as he's going to have to pit. Nazareth, he's taking a pit stop, so we'll see what he chooses to go for. Dark following alongside, gonna be doing the same thing. Sophion also taking a pit stop. It looks like the whole field is going to essentially pit under safety car and put on a fresh set of tires. So Nazareth going for mediums, Dark going for mediums. Sophion, he's going for a set of soft tires. Knight putting on a set of mediums. VR, he's gonna continue, I believe, as he just took a pit stop about a lap ago. Will, a little bit of the same situation, as he's just going to continue on. Not going to be gaining much, but I do find it's a very interesting call from Sophion to pit for a set of soft tires. He does have a couple grace period laps under the safety car, where it's going to be possibly minimal tire wear, but at the same time, it's going to be a challenge having to go essentially 8 to 10 laps on those soft tires. Some are under safety car, but a lot of laps still to go on in full race pace. So we'll see if the softs are going to last, or if we see Sophion maybe hit that cliff a little bit too soon. It's a gamble, I'll say that. It's a little bit of a risk that Sophion is taking, but we'll see if that'll work out for him. But here, lap 16 out of 26, we're under safety car. It's the first full caution safety car we've had here, which I'm very happy about, given the way last race in Baku ended up. But we'll see with the restart how drivers are going to handle it. We've got 10 drivers remaining here in this race with 10 laps to go. And we'll see how it's all going to play out. So Nazareth is leading the way, although sitting a lot less comfortable than he was with that 7-second gap. He's got Dark right behind him in second, so Fion in third, Knight, the rest of the field closing up very quickly. And it's going to make for a very interesting, a very good end to this Grand Prix. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to go anywhere. We've got most likely a banger finish for you all. So stay tuned. Once we head back to Green Flag Racing in possibly, I would think maybe about a lap's time. By the end of next lap, we should see that safety car dive into the pits. So I'm just going to go take a quick sip of water, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll be back in just a few moments. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back very shortly for the restart here under safety car. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Thank you so much for watching. We are here. It's lap 17 out of 26 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Baku City Circuit. We are under safety car for the accident that Nole had right around in this section of the track. Very high speed normally, and one wrong footing can send you into the wall with possibly very dire consequences, which is exactly what happened in Ole. But we're under safety car. The grid is bunched up with 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. I would not be surprised if the safety car comes in at the end of this lap with the grid so close. Some on the soft tires, some on the mediums, all going to be trying to go to the end. And while I was out taking my sip of water, we noticed Krishna. He's at the back of the field in 10th. He put on a set of softs. So we'll see how that is going to play out. But the safety car, it made its cue. It's going to be going into the pits, so we're going to be going back to Green Flag Racing as drivers are getting ready here, getting that last little bit of temperature into the tires. We'll see how it's all playing out, slowing down a little bit. They're all bunched up. We'll see how this restart goes. There goes Nazareth, I believe, and you can see Sophion getting a little bit close, but having to remain single file until they get to the line. And here we go. Now we're back to Green Flag Racing. You can see now the drivers spreading out, going to be trying to go for overtakes. Right behind Do Will, trying to make quick work of VR, but VR a much more difficult competitor than that. You're not going to be catching him napping on the safety car restart as Do Will was hoping. But once again, going to be going for it. We've got a yellow flag there, as I think that was Krishna having a little bit of a moment, maybe a tank slapper, but now Do Will, he's going to try to squeeze. There's contact, and that sends Do Will sliding as he's going to lose a lot of positions, having to wait for the rest of the field to go through. Heartbreak for Do Will, a costly mistake there, as that was going to be a challenging move. Did not quite work out for Do Will, and he's now down in 10th position. Here comes KN, though. He wanted to try to overtake VR, but not quite going to be happening here. Gonna have to possibly wait for the long straight, maybe DRS for a little bit of help. But we'll keep an eye out on that. It's lap 18 out of 26, so less than 10 laps to go. But already you can see Nazareth getting out of DRS zone of Dark, already building that gap to 1.1. So Nazareth just trying to pick up where he left off and doing a good job of it here. trying to leave Dark in the dust. Meanwhile, Sophion on the softs, he's going to have to get a move on. He's going to have to try to make these soft tires work very soon before they run out of grip, and part of this strategy is going to have to get ahead of Dark ASAP, and I think he's going to try forward here as he's chasing him down. No DRS to help him out just yet, as he got to wait for at least a lap or two after the safety car comes in. So not going to be able to close that, not going to be able to go for an overtake, but he does close that gap with the help of the slipstream. But now as he heads down through into turn 2, he's going to have to nail the exit. And it looks like he gets it pretty well, using a lot of battery here, already building a good and decent gap to Knight, who's in 4th, but just not able to close up enough, not able to have enough pace to go for an overtake on Dark here. So he's going to have to possibly wait for DRS to come out. Zuil, meanwhile, putting for a set of soft tires, so he might just try to go for a fastest lap here and try to damage control this race, as he sees himself down in P10 with his main championship rival currently leading the race. And Nazareth, meanwhile, he's just got to get this car to the end of the Grand Prix. So we'll stick with him through a little bit as the driver's making it through the castle section. Lap 19 out of 26. With the safety car restart, the gaps are really closed up. But we're still, I think, waiting for DRS to activate before we really start seeing these overtakes and these attacks. For now, drivers just looking to keep with the drivers ahead, trying to get ahead or trying to get away from the drivers behind them. Just essentially gap management as much as they can here, so that they can be in a bit more of an advantage once DRS does activate. But you can see VR chasing down Knight about half a second behind. Knight, meanwhile, a bit more of a gap, 1.7 seconds. He's gonna have to close up to Sophion. DRS is now enabled here for 6 more laps up till the end of this Grand Prix. Sophion unable to get ahead of Dark. VR unable to get ahead of Knight. Deroy, meanwhile, chasing down KN, but once again having to remain one behind the other. But now with DRS activated, we're going to start seeing a bit more overtaking, especially down that long start-finish straight here by the end of lap 20. Sophion closing up, bringing the gap down to about 0.4 of a second. VR, same thing on Knight. Deroy, a similar situation to KN. These are the battles going on here on track, but we'll stick with this one between Sophion and Dark. 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix. That's been a very good race here. We've seen lots of battling, lots of overtaking, and right as the gaps are starting to form, drivers working towards their strategy. We had a safety car that came out that just essentially brought everybody right back up together, allowed everybody to get on a fresh set of tires, and from there really brought things more exciting. But meanwhile, you saw KN taking front wing damage there, as now he's losing out on a couple positions, 3 to be exact, to Deroy, Krishna. But Deroy also having a moment as he's having to go very slow. I think there might have been an illegal overtake on KN there, as he essentially had to let the Red Bull driver through. Not ideal for Deroy, unfortunately for him, as he had to really slow down. So he's now back down in 9th, KN in 8th, but he's going to have to take a pit stop here. Krishna up into 7th, D-Mort's in 6th, and you can see Krishna closing up. Sophion, meanwhile, closing on Dark, but just not enough, and VR falling off the pace ever so slightly. Meanwhile, Krishna and D-Mort's, they're closing, but just not quite enough. Meanwhile, KN, Deroy, they're both taking a pit stop, and Deroy taking a speeding in the pit lane penalty. Normally, that indicates exactly what we just saw there. That is the end of Deroy's race. And I think they might have been. I think Deroy might have had something to do with the incident with KN, and I think that might have been why he allowed KN to get ahead of Deroy. And that is going to be the end of Deroy's Grand Prix here. with about 5 laps to go. Meanwhile, Nazareth continuing the solid drive, building that gap. So Fion in a bit of a tense battle here with himself and Dark. We're starting to see time penalties start to fall too. Krishna getting one, Duwil getting one, Knight getting a time second penalty. So Fion, though, having a big tank slapper on the edge of that corner. And look at that, there goes Dark down the outside. Nicely done from the Mercedes driver as he goes up into P2. And now the question is Sophion going to be able to battle back with those soft tires? He did get ahead, but it might be a bit of a changeover period now, ever so slightly, where the medium tires are going to start showing just a little bit more pace. Of course, that mistake didn't quite help, and I think Sophion is going to have DRS to help out. But is he going to be able to close up enough to go for the overtake? He opens up the flap. He's charging Adam. Is he going to go towards the inside? Yes, he is. Look at the pace difference. And he gets very quickly ahead of Dark. So Sophion back into second. You saw that mistake there. Meanwhile, Demorse and Krishna exchanging positions as they were close together. VR and Knight. VR as close as ever. He might be able to get it here. But no, just can't quite get the exit as nicely as Knight had, excuse me. But he's going to be closing once again, being forced to the outside, but just not able to gain enough, just unable to go for the overtake. And Knight going to be remaining in fourth, but this battle is just heating up here, so close to the end of the race. Demorse and Krishna still keeping up with one another, both on the soft tires, as they're battling out for points here in the championship as we're approaching the end of the race. But meanwhile, this battle here for P2 and P3, this is the one we're looking at between Dark and Sophion. Sophion on the softs, Dark on the medium tires. They're both same lap old. Sophion, though, he's got the advantage of track position. But of course, we might see this change as we head towards the start-finish straight with DRS. It is a little bit of a DRS battle here in Baku, a little bit more than some of the other circuits, like we've seen through the entirety of the race, and like we're going to continue to see here today. But once again, we'll ride on board with Dark, though. Sophion, though, making a nice, making that exit, that traction, I should say, work for him. Getting a nice exit is what I was trying to say, and building a nice gap to Dark, so really unable to close up. Meanwhile, VR, he's going to go for it, going down the outside. They're side by side in turn one, but that outside line, as it has been time and time again, seems to be the way to go. Going through turn one, you carry a lot more speed, and that's VR up into P4. Knight, meanwhile, down in fifth, but this is still continuing this battle. As you can see, Knight chasing down. He's going to go towards the inside. They're alongside once again, but it looks like VR making that outside line work for him, finding the traction, finding the pace, and he hangs on to that fourth position, so doesn't lose it shortly after gaining it. But once again, I do think this is just going to continue where it left off about a lap ago. They're just going to keep fighting, and it's a little bit of a chess match now as the laps are dwindling down to a close. They're coming to a close here. And really, it's going to be who's ahead of who once we head to the line, and we might see a couple drag races here, especially on the final lap as they're going to race to the line for that position. Quite possibly here in this battle with Dark and Sophion. Let's stick back with them. We'll ride on board with Dark. You can see fighting the car on those medium tires through that corner, riding the curb, just trying to keep pace, fighting through the dirty air. But that's a little bit of time lost. And once again, Sophion finding the exit, finding the traction, still making those soft tires work, but not quite as much of a gap as it was one lap ago. So Dark is still keeping close, but I don't think it's going to be close enough to go for a move here. He's closing, but no, once again, definitely not enough. Sophion well ahead in second, but he's still going to have to keep that up for a couple more laps. Meanwhile, Knight, I think he's recharging the battery. Doesn't quite have much ERS in the tank, as you can see on the steering wheel, so he might try to hold off just a little bit, regain a little bit more battery charge, and then just go for it with about a lap on the last lap, possibly. Although he is closing, still keeping right behind a VR. as the two main battles we're keeping an eye out for here. This one between Sophion and Dark, this is the one I'm most interested about, given, of course, this is essentially for the podium here. P2 and P3, they're both so close together, and when you're looking at this here, it's really just a matter of where they're going to end up on the podium. Dark wants that second place, but of course Sophion wants it as well. So we'll have to see just who's going to be in the right spot once they cross the line at the end of lap 26. For the moment, it's Sophion, but of course, that long start-finish straight, like we've seen time and time again, can really make the difference here. We've seen a couple drag races in the past, and I would not be surprised if we see another one here today. But we'll ride on board once again with Dark, as he's much closer this time around than he was a few laps ago to Sophion. He might be able to actually try to go for the overtake here. As he's really closing. Sophion not taking an optimal line there. You saw he was moving just a little bit, conserving some battery, and it is going to be Dark up into second as he goes around the outside down the straight and gets the overtake done well before the corner. So Sophion back down in third, Dark in second. Now, we're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, so this might be a little bit of a tactic from Sophion. If he trusts that the tires and the grip can keep ahead of Dark, maybe sit yourself behind so you don't give him much of a chance. Meanwhile, Knight and VR continuing their battle where they left it off a couple laps ago. This time it's Knight who gets ahead of VR. Knight goes up into P4 as he's going to try to get a bit more of a charge with a little bit more battery in the tank. But the two drivers, the Alpine and the Williams, are in a very similar situation as far as ERS are concerned. I think it's going to rely on tires and pace here. You can see VR 11-lap-old mediums, Knight 8-lap-old mediums, but Knight does have a time second penalty. And if I take a look here at the penalties here, yes, it is 3 seconds. So Knight really going to have to try to push a little bit in this final lap and a half to try to keep VR behind him by about 3 seconds, or else he might risk losing that position. We'll see how that's going to play out. Meanwhile, Sophion really falling off the pace. I think those soft tires, they finally hit that wall. They finally hit that cliff. And I think that's sort of what we're seeing. Just Sophion not getting the same amount of traction, not getting the same amount of pace as he was just a lap or two ago, and he's already way out of DRS range. Dark essentially just got the overtake done and just booked it, already 2 seconds ahead. And Dark finds himself now pretty comfortably, all things considered, in P2 as we're starting the final lap of the Grand Prix. VR charging down Knight once again, not able to get the overtake done going into turn 1, maybe through turn 2 down into turn 3 if they can get the exit. It's gonna be close as we're riding on board with the Williams Racing driver of VR. We've got a yellow flag. Does that look to be, I believe, Krishna? Now Demorts gets ahead after that mistake from Krishna. VR not able to gain enough ground to get the overtake done going into turn 3. So it's going to remain a little bit single file, but look at this. Dark already really making a push. 2.6 seconds ahead of Sophion. That's really fallen off the cliff. And now for Sophion, his main focus is maybe a little bit less on driver ahead, but I think a little bit more on not losing out on too much time to lose out on the drivers behind. As well, as you can see, that's Knight closing already down to under a second is the gap, or right around a second, but he still has VR for company right behind them as they're approaching the final sector here. Having to take this corner for the final time. I'm sure some of them are very thankful for that, but we'll switch over for the time being as, oh, hang on a minute, but you saw there Nazareth, he's driven essentially a picture-perfect race, and he looks to be in a very great position, celebrating towards the line here. He's going to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Dark coming in second, but this is where we want to see the charge to the line. Who's going to get the final podium? It's going to be Sophion. VR in fourth. Knight falls down to fifth. with the penalty he got late in the race, but still a fantastic drive from everybody there. Not that photo finish we were hoping for there, but still a fantastic drive from everybody involved. As Zuwil, that's a bit of an early end to his Grand Prix. Krishna crossing the line in second, and KN, he's kept in it there. He hasn't quite had the best Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but sticking with it here. He's going to end up in P8 and still get a decent haul of points here for the Red Bulls. Just from finishing the race as he heads towards the line. But I can't stress this enough. Nazareth had a great drive. Fantastic race there from Nazareth, from beginning to end, almost spotless, a near perfect drive, and that's exactly what Nazareth needed here with that main battle with Duwil in the championship. And Duwil not having the best of race. He's down in P9, so really left a lot of points on the table here in Baku after not having the best race for himself there. But there's the podium there. It is Nazareth who gets the victory. Dark had a great drive, made the strategy work for him, and he's got a nice podium for the Mercedes team up into P2. So congratulations from him, able to keep Sophion behind, but Sophion still finding himself on a podium step here in P3. But great race here today, ladies and gentlemen. But one more time through the order, Nazareth from pole, he is your winner here in Baku. He is the champion at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix for Division 2. Dark, though, from 13th all the way up to 2nd, making the one-stop work to perfection as he gets a fantastic haul of points for himself. Sophion rounding out the podium in 3rd. VR in 4th, Knight in 5th. Demorts, Krishna, KN, 1912, Zuwil, and DeRoy rounding out the top 10. Nole, Sprunky, Jordan, Lucchesi not having the best of races. They crashed out a little bit earlier on. There are the DNFs, but what a race that was, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I do hope you enjoyed the action as much as I did here for this redo race, and yeah, definitely went much better than than how it previously went here in Baku. Much better race. Now, of course, next week we are under break, so we're not going to have any racing next week, but the week after that, we're going to be back in action, and we've got a good one for you. We're going to be racing on the streets of Monaco. You thought Baku was crazy. Monaco is a completely new animal, and I mean, the drivers love it or hate it. It always makes for a fantastic show, so you're not going to want to miss that one. And like I said, that's in 2 weeks' time when we're back from break week. But until then, on behalf of myself and everybody here at ISRL Esports, I want to say thank you so much for watching here, and have yourselves a fantastic day.